Going everybody, it's Warren and welcome back to my channel, The Cosmic Wonder, where we talk about all things Marvel and everything relating to the MCU. It's been over 6 years since the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 came out in 2014. The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 was a very important movie for the MCU. They introduced the Power Stone and they also introduced Thanos. They also introduced a very ripped Chris Pratt, but I digress. Now, as most of you know, James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. He also directed Guardians number 2 and he is going to direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And many of you know that he put hundreds of Easter eggs in all of his movies. And as some of you may know, we have found all of the Easter eggs from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 except for one. It's been 6 years and we still haven't discovered all of the Easter eggs in the film. That is, until now possibly. A lot of detective work has been done and it seems like the community and a couple of YouTubers have figured it out. And to top it all off, it does seem like James Gunn has seemingly confirmed that this is the Easter egg, or it's at least extremely close. So I'll break it down step by step and I'll explain how Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 may not be exactly what it seems to be. If you're new, be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all Marvel and MCU related news. So to start off, the one thing that you have to know for Guardians of the Galaxy and for this Easter egg is the music. James Gunn specifically mentioned, and most fans picked up, that the music is from Meredith's point of view. And every song that we hear played in the movie is played from Peter's Walkman or his stereo. So essentially, we are listening in on a conversation between Peter and his mother. And that's really what this final Easter egg of the movie comes down to: Peter's mother and just who she really is. Now, when it comes to Guardians Volume 1, we visit many different places in the movie, and some of them have coordinates when they show where they are. Now, the YouTuber MT and a Discord group called the Guardians Egg Basket seems to have figured out what these coordinates translate to. The scene where we see the Dark Aster, a Kree warship, the coordinates down below seem to translate into "This is Mom's cancer." The high security prison, the Kiln, seems to translate into "This isn't real." And Nowhere inside of the Celestial Head seems to translate into Meredith Quill. And the group actually tweeted at James Gunn revealing their discovery, and James Gunn said that they're about 70% correct. Now, these weren't the only coordinates that were translated, but these are the three that are believed to be the most accurate. And it ties into the Easter egg of just who Meredith Quill is. Now, in the beginning of the movie where Peter goes to the Morag Temple to retrieve the Power Stone orb, we can see that in the background of this shot is some art on the wall, kind of like ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. And the art shows 4 different ancient figures forging the 6 Infinity Stones. Now, we don't have to guess on who these ancient figures are, as the production designers have revealed them. They have identified these figures as Death, Entropy, Infinity, and Eternity. Now, these ancient figures, these beings, are all from Marvel Comics and are all very important characters in the Marvel Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 was the first movie to really show Thanos and have an interaction with him. And in the comics, in the Infinity Gauntlet saga, Lady Death is actually the main driving factor of Thanos eliminating half of the universe with all of the Infinity Stones, snapping them away. Thanos is absolutely in love with Lady Death in the comics and will do anything to get her to fall in love with him. But in this picture, Eternity and Infinity are opposing Death. Lady Death is an actual cosmic being that represents actual death. Now, Eternity is another cosmic entity that actually represents the Marvel multiverse. Now, when Eternity needs to speak with humans or other types of life forms, he can actually take a shape of a figure, a silhouette type figure that has the cosmos inside of him, filled with galaxies and planets. Now, Infinity is the sister of Eternity and Entropy is the son of Eternity. But for the sake of this Easter egg, we're going to focus on Eternity, since Eternity shows up again in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Eternity.
And this is where the new Easter egg theory comes in. And first and foremost, full credit to new Rockstars. They're the ones who came up with this theory. And the theory is that Meredith Quill, Peter Quill's mother, is actually Eternity, the cosmic entity herself. If we take a look at Nowhere and we look at the background, all of the different colors of clouds that are in the background, and then we take a look at the final scene where Peter is holding the Power Stone and he sees his mother, and his mother asks him to take her hand, we can see the background of that looks exactly the same. Also, at Nowhere, when Peter and Gamora are kind of dancing with each other, we can see that the background is also the same. And let's not forget that the coordinates for Nowhere seem to translate to Meredith Quill. Now, Nowhere, as we know, is a floating head of a former celestial god. However, it is theorized and widely believed that this is the head of Ego, or that it once contained the brain that would eventually go on to become Ego. After all, Ego is a celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. If these are both true, there is a lot of hidden detail between the scene with Gamora and Quill. In this scene, they are in the eye of the Celestial, which could be Ego, Peter's father. The camera pans and we all of a sudden look out into what could be Eternity, Peter's mother, pointing to the fact that Peter could be the offspring of two incredibly powerful cosmic beings. Now, as I mentioned before about Eternity, Eternity can take a certain type of form, and one of those forms could actually be the physical body of Peter Quill's mother, Meredith. Now, new Rockstars go on to further explain that Peter Quill could simply be living inside of his mother's reality since she is Eternity. She is the multiverse that he lives in, and that's why Peter Quill's story in the film is led by the music that his mother left him. This could also explain why Ego's so-called cancer, him infecting the entire universe, could have been started by him infecting Eternity with the tumor that he put inside of her head. And this could also explain Peter's natural desire to want to save the universe, or guard the galaxy, because his mother is actually Eternity. This could also explain why Peter's mother nicknamed him Star-Lord.
You are the light of my life, my precious son, my little Star-Lord.
Because that is kind of what he is. Eternity is essentially the entire universe filled with stars, and Quill is the sun of all of that. And perhaps this could actually be where Peter gets his power from. And this leads us to Guardians Volume 2, where Peter actually meets his father, Ego. Now, at the end of Guardians Volume 1, Yondu actually downplays Ego and his importance.
Probably good we didn't deliver him to his dad like we was hired to do.
Yeah, that guy was a jackass!
Now, if we really think about it, why is Quill actually different than all of the other hundreds of kids that Ego had throughout all time? Ego had hundreds of different kids and none of them had the Celestial gene. And then, while Ego is showing Peter Eternity, Ego says that out of all of his spawns, Quill was the only one to carry the connection to the light.
Not one of them carried the Celestial genes until you, Peter. Out of all my spawn, only you carried the connection to the light.
But why was Peter so different if the other part of his DNA was simply human? What made him different than any of the other species that Ego mated with? And what gave him that connection to the so-called light? Well, it could be the fact that his mother is Eternity. He wasn't simply human, he was simply birthed by Eternity in human form. And this could be why he's so different. He's a cross between two cosmic beings, Eternity, the embodiment of the Marvel multiverse, and a celestial Ego. Now this means a couple of different things. One, the reason that Quill was able to hold the Power Stone could be because of his mother. And this would actually make sense because when he's holding the Power Stone, that is when he sees his mother telling him to reach for his hand.
Take my hand, Peter.
And as we notice again, the background is the same background from Nowhere where the coordinates translate to Meredith Quill. But this also means that Star-Lord is a lot more powerful than we think he is, and he can actually get his powers back. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Ego dies, and as he states, when he dies, the power that is inside of Quill leaves Quill. The power of a Celestial that he got from his father dies with his father. And a lot of people were wondering after the movie if he's going to be getting this power back. But perhaps what we could see in the future, instead of him getting the power of his father back, he could actually tap into the power of his mother, Eternity. After all, if Adam Warlock still is coming to destroy the Guardians in Guardians Volume 3, Peter is going to need some help and going to need a lot more power if he's going to take on Adam Warlock. Now, one of the coolest parts about this theory for the final Easter egg that new Rockstars came up with is the fact that they tweeted at James Gunn about the theory and James Gunn kind of seemingly confirmed it. New Rockstars tweeted saying, Guardians of the Galaxy was crafted by James Gunn with endless details hidden in the visuals and soundtrack. Eric Voss breaks down the film in our latest Infinity Saga rewatch, including an update on that infamous still missing Easter egg, in which James Gunn retweeted what they tweeted saying, haha, amazing work. Now, a lot of people are considering this to be somewhat of a confirmation that new Rockstars did in fact find the final Easter egg. A lot of people have tweeted at James Gunn in the past claiming that they have found the final Easter egg, in which James Gunn will tweet back, sorry, no, it's wrong. But this time, James Gunn did not deny the fact that they could have found the final infamous Easter egg. In fact, he said, amazing work, somewhat kind of congratulating them for finding that infamous Easter egg. So if this is true and we have in fact fact found the final Easter egg, that means that Eternity is actually Peter Quill's mother, and she took on a human form to conceive Peter Quill. And now Peter Quill exists inside of his mother's reality. What does everybody think about this? This is seemingly the Easter egg that has been missing for all this time. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Another shout out to New Rockstars for coming up with this theory and probably finding that infamous Easter egg. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe with notifications turned on so you can stay up to date on all things relating to Marvel and the MCU. You can follow me on Twitter for live updates, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.